As the 17th smallest nation on Earth and the 5th smallest in Europe by land area, you wouldn't expect the Principality of Andorra to have its own unique trucking culture and lifestyle. This lack of expectation, which I assume most of you have, has been properly withheld, because the Principality of Andorra has no unique trucking culture or lifestyle. However, this doesn't mean that Andorra lacks trucks, some of which drive across the continent to arrive at their final destination deep in the Pyrenees Mountains. As a micronation, Andorra is home to a minuscule road network totaling only 269 kilometers in length, 74% of which is paved. There are two main roads which allow entry into Andorra from neighboring France and Spain: the CG1 highway to the south and the CG2 highway to the north. There are a few smaller roads which bridge the gap across the border, though they're less often used, especially when it comes to commercial travel. As a mountainous nation, it's not uncommon for the northernmost exit into France to be closed due to snow in the winter months, which can make travel difficult, though this can be somewhat avoided with the Envalira Tunnel, which cuts underneath the Andorran town of El Pas de la Casa. Outside of the CG1 and CG2 roads which span across the nation through the capital city, Andorra la Vella, there are 4 other main roads numbering 3 through 6. CG or Carretera General roads make up the majority of ground travel within the country and serve as the main connections between Andorra's population centers. CG1 and CG2 are so often used as a route through the nation that they are colloquially referred to as Carretera de España and Carretera de França, respectively. Together, they have a total length of only 43 kilometers, which takes just under an hour to drive. As I mentioned earlier, the vast majority of trucks in Andorra originate from other nations and are only in the country for the purposes of dropping off or picking up loads. But this does not mean that there aren't any trucking companies in the fledgling Iberian nation. One of the only trucking companies here is Traldisporta, which doesn't operate exclusively in Andorra, but rather across the Pyrenees and Catalonia. Even though this is a smaller company, their position in the Andorran economy is important, as a great deal of skill and experience is required for the navigation of many small roads and tight turns. In past videos, I've noted tight streets as a defining characteristic of some European cities, and Andorra la Vella is a great example of this. As a dense city within a dense nation, some of the streets here are improbably small and require a delicate and confident driver to navigate. Even outside of the city, routes which snake up mountainsides are small and unforgiving to two-way traffic, with certain roads paralleling sheer rock faces or other geographic barriers. At the very least, drivers are rewarded decently for their work here, as Andorra has quite a bit of money for its size, serving as one of Europe's favorite tax havens. Unsurprisingly, Andorra has no truck stops, forcing the few drivers who spend the night in the country to park elsewhere. This doesn't prove to be that large of an issue overall though, as many of the loads which end up in Andorra see their drivers exiting the nation within the same day. Most of the transportation of goods ends up happening in smaller vehicles such as rigid box trucks or vans, as it can be almost impossible for full-size trucks to cram themselves down side streets or certain rural pathways. If you ever have the fortune of driving through the tight streets of Andorra la Vella, the switchback roads of the Pyrenees Mountains, or the thin valleys which run between them, thank your lucky stars you don't have to do so in an 18-meter truck. Thanks for watching. After a couple-month hiatus, which I spent primarily standing in a swamp, I finally got some more truck-related content on the way, so keep your eyes propped open with toothpicks like Tom did in that one episode of Tom and Jerry.